We're gonna cover the top 5 body weight exercises that you can use to increase your speed, and we're gonna start right now. What's up, everybody? It's Dane Miller from GarageStrength.com, and if this is your first time to the channel and you're interested in getting stronger, you wanna be more explosive, you want to run faster, make sure that you like, you subscribe, and you ring that notification bell so we can help you become a beast. So for the last year, we've been struggling through the quarantine. We've been struggling through shutdowns. We've lost gyms. We've had to deal with the thought of not being able to lift any weights at all. And then we have that panic. We have that issue of, if I'm not lifting weights, if I'm not doing box jumps or hurdle hops, whatever it might be, can I get faster? Is it possible for me to train with just body weight exercises and actually increase my speed? I want to drop my 40 time. I want to run faster on the soccer field. I want to be a faster basketball player. You've got all these thoughts going through your head, but you don't know if you're able or capable to train properly with just body weight exercises and still drop that 40 time or drop that 60 time. And so what we've done is we've put together the 5 best body weight exercises so that you can definitely learn how to drop that time with body weight exercises. But first, we've got to understand speed. And from the simplest perspective, we've got to understand that speed is rapid cyclical force development, right? You're doing that over and over as rapidly as possible in a cyclical motion. And so let's think about if we're running the 100 meters, or if we're running the 40, or if we're a baseball player and we're trying to get faster on the field, or if we're a lacrosse player, whatever it might be. And we know that one of the key elements is having a rapid start, being fast right off the line. That's a very key component, especially if we're talking about shorter distances like the 40-yard dash. Now we can see how important that start is, because if my start's a little bit faster than my opponent's, I'm gonna beat him. So then we can step into that next element. We're gonna refer to this as acceleration, or the drive phase. So now we can start to think about, if we're on the field, if we're playing football, we're gonna come off the line and then we have to accelerate. And now if we can even think about that breakaway running back, let's think about you're taking it to the house, you got a long run, you got 70 yards and you're taking it to the house. You have that start that you need to focus on, then you have that period of acceleration, and then after you get through that period of acceleration and you're on the sideline and you're taking it to the house, you have to have really good maximal mechanics. We have those 3 levels, those 3 elements that we're breaking it down into. We've got the start, we've got the drive phase or acceleration phase, and then we've got maximal mechanics. Now we can take that step back and say, all right, what are body weight exercises that we can utilize to hit those 3 elements? So coming in at that number 5 spot, we're gonna focus immediately right on maximal mechanics. We need to understand how we want our foot to ground when we're running at top end. We don't wanna be grounding all up on our toes. We don't wanna be grounding on our heels. We don't wanna be leaning forward if we're at top end speed. We don't want to forward lean. We want maximal ground reaction forces. So that means our foot needs to ground below our torso. We want to have a mid-foot strike or a front third of our foot strike. We want to have an active foot pulling a bit. We want that high knee. We want a dorsiflex foot while we're going through that cycling position. And that's where A-skips comes into play. If you can get outside twice, 3 times a week and do A-skips for 5 or 6 sets of 10 to 20 yards, now you can start to feel what your hip needs to do in conjunction with your trunk. And if you have good dynamic trunk control while you're doing and executing those A-skips for 5 to 6 sets of 15 to 20 yards, now you start to learn that top end mechanics. Now you start to learn how to ground your foot properly. Now you start to feel what your trunk should be doing, what your arms should be doing. And so A-skips are not only a really good drill that you can utilize to get some rhythm, it's also going to transfer well to that top end speed. And so you have to think about what's transferring well. The trunk, arm swings, the way your foot is grounding, the way your hip and knee flex, that's gonna carry over really, really well to running faster. So coming in at that number 4 spot, we're gonna work on another movement that's going to help us on that top end speed, and that's gonna be Dions. And so if we can think about holding that super upright posture, we wanna be relaxed in our face, having nice, good, strong arm swings. But as we're grounding through Dions, we want to feel that midfoot grounding. We want to have a dorsiflex foot as we put our leg out to try and ground underneath the torso. That's a key component of maximal mechanics. Your foot should be grounding underneath the torso. And that creates that ground reaction force. And if we can even think back to our Daniel Jones video where we discuss a stumble reflex, now that stumble reflex starts to happen quicker. And that's where the A-skips also come into play, is that when you start to utilize the A-skips, you can train the stumble reflex. Now you pair that with Dions and that top end speed gets a lot better. I recommend twice a week, get outside, go on the road wherever you can get something done. Hit 5 sets of 20 yards with Dions, 25 yards, and you're gonna feel that cycling that you should be feeling at top end speed. You're gonna start to feel that proper trunk control, and that's gonna transfer over really, really well. So coming in at that number 3 spot, we're starting to get into some acceleration work, and that's where we're gonna start with single leg bounds. And so one of the best qualities behind the single leg bound is, especially right when you start off, we want to get that shin angle forward quite a bit. We want to use our upper body to help us propel forward. But when you're executing these, first as you start, let's say you're outside, you're on 15 to 20 yards, okay? Maybe you're on a football field, we got 30 yards in front of you. For the first 2 or 3 bounds, think about grounding more on the front part of your foot. Not entirely on your toes, but more on the front part of your foot. Then as you gain speed, now that's that transition period, okay? You're going from the drive phase to top end speed. You're going from acceleration to maximal mechanics. So now you can actually use single leg bounds as a tool to feel that acceleration and then transition to top end mechanics. So you're starting with a steeper shin angle, and then as you execute the set, you start to have a more upright posture and you start to ground in a much more dorsiflex position. And so these can be a little bit more challenging. If you can't start off with single leg bounds, I recommend getting really good at jump lunges and starting to feel that position in the split position and controlling that really, really rapidly, and then work into some single leg bounds. But utilize single leg bounds maybe 1 day a week during your speed-based training, and you can utilize this for 5, 6, 7 sets of 20 yards, and you can even cycle back and forth from leg to leg, or you can do an entire set on the right side and then transition an entire set on the left side. But keep in mind, use this to improve acceleration. Use single leg bounds to also feel the transition from acceleration to maximal mechanics. That takes us into our number 2 exercise, and now we're gonna start working on that start. So the tuck jumps are gonna be one of the best exercises that you can do to improve your start. If you can think about tuck jumps, you could either do a full range of motion squat, jump, bring those knees to your chest, ground, and get right into that, back into that full squat. You could utilize that as a warm-up for 2 or 3 sets, and then you can rest 2 to 3 minutes. Now you wanna do tuck jumps from a quarter squat, jump, bring your knees to your chest, and react rapidly. And so I recommend doing tuck jumps about 3 to 5 reps per set. You could do these for 4 to 8 sets. They can be taxing, you're gonna feel it in your abs, but that's where it's gonna transfer over really, really well. As you get good at tuck jumps, you're gonna get into that crouch position and the start. Think about it, somebody who's running a 40 or somebody who's running the 100. Now we're in the start position and we feel that deep shin angle, we feel that deep knee flexion, and you start to feel what your abs actually need to do and how they need to brace and how you need to control your breath when you come off the line, when you come out of the blocks. And so tuck jumps do a really, really good job of teaching athletes how to control their breath, how to squeeze through their abs while also remaining relaxed. And that's a really hard skill to use. If you hear strength coaches say, any doofus can run, anybody can go out and run. Yeah, anybody can go out and run, but that doesn't mean we're running properly. That doesn't mean we're starting properly. There's technique behind the start. There's feeling behind the start. And that's where tuck jumps can transfer really, really well to running in general is that you start to feel what your trunk needs to do. You start to feel what your trunk needs to do from that starting position, and that's going to help you dramatically decrease your time and improve your speed. So all these movements are complicated, they're hard, they're difficult, and it ends up being pretty taxing if you would do this every single day. And you can't do that. You've got to sit there and start to think about it from a periodization and programming perspective. You've got to start to think as an athlete or coach, what's the best way to piece together a program that uses these exercises and still can help me with their speed. And that's why we put together our Berserker Bodyweight Speed program. You can click on the link down below, and you could also pick up our How to Get Faster speed training program that we put together specifically for football players as well. But both of these programs, we utilize these exercises, we put them together so that they work synergistically to help you drop your time and improve your speed. And that takes us to our number one bodyweight exercise for speed-based training, and that's going to be a little combo here. You can either run hills, and I recommend running hills that are 20 to 30 yards long, 20 to 30 meters maybe, or you go outside and you do 15-meter sprints. So I know it's one or the other. Both of these are very, very good for speed-based training. One of the things that I love about 15-meter sprints, you can get 10 to 15 of these done in a very short time frame. It's also pretty taxing. You get winded, but you can also feel different starts. You can start to feel different positions you're in, and you can play around with how you want to optimize your start position. You also learn how to push, okay? When we're in a start position, when we want to accelerate, we're going to land more on the forefoot than we are when we're running at maximal mechanics, at top end speed. You've got to push quite a bit more when we're in acceleration. We need huge arm swings when we're coming out of the blocks. And running 15-meter sprints is going to help us project forward. It's going to help us keep our shin angle forward, and we're going to feel how we can accelerate effectively. It's a really, really good way to teach the technique of the start into acceleration. And using hills is another really, really good tool if you're an athlete that struggles with acceleration. If you can get to top end speed and hold it really well, that's great. But if you struggle to get to top end speed, hills can transfer and improve that really, really well. And one thing you could do is find a hill that's a little bit more gradual. You work on that starting position, and then when you work on that starting position, now you're getting into that hill sprint. And when you're in the hill sprint, that almost forces that forward lean. It forces the angle of your shin to be a little bit steeper. And when that shin angle is steeper, you have to push aggressively. You have to use aggressive arm swings. And that's the way that hills and 15-meter sprints transfer and carry over to speed-based training. So fear not, if you don't have access to a weight room, you're stuck at home and you don't have any weights, you're sitting in your couch and you're just feeling as though you're rotting away, you can still improve as an athlete. You can still transform who you are as an individual, and you can start to develop that speed by utilizing all 5 of these exercises. If you want help with developing or having a developed program, click on the link down below, pick up our Berserker Bodyweight Strength program. Or if you want help and you're a skilled position athlete, you can click on the link that leads to our How to Get Faster speed-based training program. If you want more videos about bodyweight training, click on this card right here. Until next time, guys, peace.